Hi everybody. So I want to share with you today a technique that I have for learning the location of every note on the fretboard. This is something that I hear people talk about a lot when it comes to learning guitar, is that you really want to have an in-depth knowledge of the fretboard, and it's kind of a tough thing to approach. So what I want to do is I want to share with you a technique that I've learned that will really help you really unlock the fretboard as far as knowing where every note is, which will help you play chords, help you learn arpeggios and scales, understand more about what you already know how to play on the guitar. You'll understand what notes you're playing, what notes sound good together, the relationship between notes. It all takes a bit of intense study to really understand all of the theory and everything behind it, but this is just a really simple exercise to get you started. So anyway, without further ado, here's what's happening. So I have two grids written out, and both of them have each note of the chromatic scale contained within them. I have one grid for sharp notes and one grid for flat notes. And what you want to do is generally it'll be good to start with the sixth string, and so whenever you're learning the sixth string, you're also learning the first string because they're both an E string. And you want to have a little bit of base knowledge about how to locate these notes on the fretboard first off. So if you don't already know, you have the chromatic scale on each string on the guitar. So from the open strings all the way to the 12th fret where the open string repeats, you have E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and then E. And then so the notes would be slightly different for flats. You'd have E, F, G flat, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, and E. So that's pretty simple. You would use that same process to find any note on any of the other strings, just starting with the string name. Like, so if you have the A string, then you would start with A and go up in the same order as what you have there. That's called the chromatic scale. This is probably really basic information for a lot of you, but if you don't know that, that's some precursor information that you must know to be able to do this. So now, moving forward, you'll generally want to do this exercise with a metronome. Just so that you can kind of track how quickly you're able to find the notes. I'm not going to use a metronome today just for the sake of just sharing this exercise with you, and just you don't need to know too much from me. It's more something that you can just do on your own, and you can get a lot of practice out of it. So anyway, you want to take each note and then play it for 4 beats apiece, starting on the 6th string. So for this example, if I use the grid with sharps, I have B, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, C sharp, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, F sharp, G sharp, F, D sharp, C, G. Alright, so you get the idea. So I made a slight mistake on D sharp there, but I don't really care. Anyway, so after you've done that on the 6th string for whole notes, then you could do the same thing for half notes once you kind of get the hang of that. But where the grid comes into play, the only reason that we write it out like that is because now that you've done it in that order, I was just reading from left to right there, right? So starting at the top left box and just reading it normally like a book. Now you could go descending in columns, so you could do B, C sharp, F, then I'm going to go back to the next column, so E, A, D sharp, and then D, F sharp, and so on and so forth. So you see that I just was able to use that same grid to play the notes in a completely different order. So this is obviously not like a musical exercise. This is what we would kind of refer to as a spinach eating exercise, where you're just learning the names of each note. So because of that, the way that it's laid out, so now you did it descending through the columns. Now after you play through it in that order, you could play through the same grid ascending through the columns, or you could read from right to left, or from bottom to top, or any way that you can think of, really. So the idea is that you just want to play these notes in a random order, as close to random as you can, so that you don't end up just sort of memorizing the order that they're written out or something like that. It also helps along the way to kind of make some landmarks if this is something that you're just getting started with. So, like on the sixth string, for instance, the third fret is G, and so if you know that that's G, the one right below it has to be G flat or F sharp, right? Now the one right above it on the fourth fret must be G sharp or A flat, right? So that's a good place to start. So you know G, and then the fifth fret would be A, and then seventh fret is B, and so you can use those three locations to help you find the notes that are close around them. And then another thing to note is that you do not want to use the open strings for this exercise, generally speaking. It's better to go up to the 12th fret because it's really easy to find the open strings. You're not really doing yourself a huge favor if you use those during this exercise. So then after you do it with the sixth string, you can obviously move up, repeat the same exercise with strings 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Obviously, 1 is the same as 6, so not a big deal. And then you can start using the exercise switching between the strings. So maybe while you're reading through either of the grids, you could do your first note on the sixth string, the second on the fifth, then back to 6, then back to 5, so on and so forth, and any permutations of that idea that you want to work out. So this is a really simple exercise where you can get a lot of mileage out of it. I just went ahead and wrote out 2 boxes for you guys to show you what this looks like and what you do. Hopefully this all made sense to you guys. Please leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you want more of this kind of content. I'm just kind of trying this stuff out on YouTube, sharing what I know, because I know that this is something that a lot of people have trouble with. There are plenty of resources about learning this, but I think that this method really is great. So, all right, thanks guys.